Welcome to Machines Inc. I'm Jake, and today we're going to be looking at how to replace the shocks on a Jeep Cherokee XJ. So we're going to keep this video super short and simple, but today I'm going to replace the shocks on my 93 XJ. If you guys are new to the channel, this is my kind of rock crawler. It's got Dana 44s, 37-inch tires, 3-link in the front, and leaf springs in the back. And the replacement on this, although slightly different than a factory XJ, 99% the same, and honestly, it's super easy to do. So let's go ahead and breeze through this. So these are the new shocks we're going to be putting on. It's just a Skyjacker gas charge shock. But what I'm using these for is to show you the 3 bolts that we're going to be taking off. So there's the bottom mounting bolt through this eyelet. That is going to mount to the axle with just a single bolt. And then at the top, the XJs are a little different. Standard shocks will have that 1/2-inch eyelet at the bottom and top. XJs for the rear use this little split plate. Some people delete these. But essentially there's just 2 bolts that bolts this right up to the body. So there's just 3 bolts per shock, and it should be super simple to pop off there. So when we first hop underneath the Jeep, you're going to notice that the shocks are offset on the rear axle. So the driver's side shock is behind the axle, and then the passenger side shock is in front of the axle. So this one's a little bit easier to see, so we're going to start with this one. You're going to want to undo the bottom bolt first, and since these are gas charged shocks, mine are a little blown out, but if they're new, when you undo that first bolt, you're going to see the shock go ahead and sag out completely. So we undo that first bolt so it can hang down, and now we're going to go in and undo the 2 top bolts. Now, my current shocks have bar pin eliminators installed. So before we can undo the 2 factory bolts that go into the body, we need to remove the 1/2-inch bolt that actually holds the top of the shock in. So we'll go ahead and remove that. Now this 1/2-inch bolt is slid backwards, we can get to the 13 mil behind it. Now to reinstall these shocks, it's going to be the same steps, except for now we are using a bar pin, so we're not using the bar pin eliminator. So we're just going to start these 2 top bolts and then mount our bottom bolt. Now, tightening these 2 bolts up, you don't want to use an impact. If you were to strip the 2 bolts that go into the body, you're kind of screwed. So this electric ratchet doesn't have much power, or you can just do it by hand. And then we're going to finish torquing it by hand, just so I can get a good feel. Now we're going to compress this shock by hand. It can be tricky, but you just want to go slow but steady. If you can't do it by hand, you might want to get like a jack or something of that nature. We're just going to press it up until this bolt fits in our mounting hole. Cool, then we'll reinstall our washer and our nut. And again, we'll come back by hand for the final torque, just to make sure we don't over torque this bottom bolt. Alright, and this driver's side is done. And now we're going to do the same thing, just on the passenger side. We can see how blown out this one is just because it's completely loose. It's just missing most of the fluid out of it now. You'll notice I'm breaking these free by hand. Another thing is these bolts that go into the body can become corroded and seized in the body. So you don't want to put the impact straight on them and just strip out all the threads. You want to make sure they come loose first. All right, now we toss the new one up here. With the bar pins, it's a little bit easier just to go ahead and install the rear bolt. Then you can hang the shock off that one bolt essentially. Alright, now the hardest part, compress this up. So you can see replacing the shocks on these Jeeps are super easy. Definitely probably a half hour with the right tools to get out and knock it out. So if you guys are looking to replace these on your car, don't wait. It makes a huge difference getting rid of some old blown out shocks and replacing them for something new. If you guys follow along with this channel, you know this is a little bit simpler video than what we normally do on here. But if you are new here and want to see some more fabrication and 4x4 content, make sure to subscribe to the channel. There's plenty more Jeep content to go look back through and plenty more coming. As always, guys, appreciate you watching Machines Inc., and we'll see you next time.